After posting at 11 p.m. last night that former President Joe Biden was actually executed in 2020 and a robotic clone has been replacing him, Donald Trump is now golfing in Virginia and again behaving in a very deranged fashion, making more unhinged posts. I'll get to that in a moment. But Fox is actually covering Donald Trump, saying that former President Biden's actually a robot and was executed in 2020. It's kind of fairly interesting that Fox is at least focused on that. Donald Trump is not focused on anything other than playing golf at the taxpayers' expense, that we, the people's hard-earned money, is going to Donald Trump to play golf with the Secret Service. And while he does not focus on any issues that are relevant to the United States, in fact, anything he does is to harm our country. While Donald Trump was golfing, Ukraine was making it look easy in their attack on Russia's strategic Air Force fleet. About 41 of Russia's most prized and irreplaceable bomber aircrafts, representing about 30% of Russia's strategic Air Force fleet, was destroyed by Ukraine. And these planes were deep inside Russia, not like close to the Ukraine-Russia border. They were deep inside Russia, and Ukraine did not ask for permission from Donald Trump. They just went ahead with it to protect their sovereignty, recognizing how weak Donald Trump is and that they have the support of Europe and the rest of the coalition of the willing. Again, this to me also shows what a non-factor Donald Trump even is at this point. And Ukraine's got friends who are stronger than the United States right now, who are the coalition of the willing, European Union, Canada, Australia, and elsewhere. As Yaroslav Trofimov explains, Russia refused Ukraine's offer of a total or just air ceasefire. Trump refused Ukraine's request for air defenses and declined to sanction Russia for murderous missile attacks on Ukrainian cities. So Ukraine took matters into their own hands and took out the planes that are used for the missile attacks against Ukraine. It's simple. This is a strategic setback for Russia, a significant part, maybe even the majority of its airworthy strategic bomber fleet destroyed. And what was Donald Trump doing while that was taking place? We know that Donald Trump doesn't read his intelligence briefings at all. He doesn't like to read. He was here with golfers, and he was talking about how some of these other golfers are longer than him. And he says that he tells Melania that he's just as long as them, but they're actually longer than him. This is what he was doing while Ukraine was defending itself. Play this clip.
Play golf a lot together. It's not a very pleasant experience for me because I always consider myself a reasonably long hitter, and then I play with him and I go home and I say, my wife said, "Are you as long as Bryce?" And I said, "Yeah, sort of. Pretty close. It's not close."
And while Donald Trump was golfing, he sent his stooges like Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, his head of the National Economic Council, Kevin Hassett, his Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, who I call Nutlick, and others, just to further humiliate the United States and demonstrate what an incompetent, despicable regime this is. Here is Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent lying and saying that the deficit is already lower right now than it was last year. This is false. It is actually significantly higher, but these individuals, I had other names for them, continue to lie. Here, play this clip.
One of the reasons I'm sitting here talking to you today and not at home watching your show is that I was concerned about the level of debt. So the deficit this year is going to be lower than the deficit last year. And in 2 years, it will be lower again. We are going to bring the deficit down slowly. We didn't get here in 1 year. We didn't get here in 1 year, and this has been a long process. So the goal is to bring it down over the next 4 years, leave the country in great shape in 2028.
Now going to Donald Trump's head of his National Economic Council, Kevin Hassett, George Stephanopoulos asks Hassett, when are you going to announce deals? To which Hassett responds, I expected we were going to announce the deals last week. Well, you didn't. You're kind of telling on yourself there. Here, play this clip.
We showed at the top of this piece you talking about how you believe we're on the brink of getting many of these trade negotiations secure. Where are we exactly? When will we see an actual agreement? Will we see any this week?
I expected that we were going to probably see one perhaps as early as last week. And I think that one of the things that's happened is that the trade team has been focused 100% like a laser beam on the China matter to make sure that there are no supply disruptions because these licenses are coming a little slower than we would like. And so we've been focused like a laser beam on that last week. And the presidents we expect will discuss the matter this week. Once that thing's resolved, then we're going to take deals into the Oval that Jameson Greer and Howard Lutnick have negotiated.
I always wonder also when I'm covering all of the incompetence in the Trump regime, what are the right-wing media sources actually talking about? Because they're not giving their audience the truth. Here's what they were talking about in the right-wing media over the past 24 hours. MAGA accuses Democratic Senator Cory Booker of doing the Nazi salute. You see here, I'm using my Ground News blind spot feature, and you're seeing 88% of this coverage is right-wing media. No left-wing media is covering that at all. On this story, U.S. small businesses are struggling and going bankrupt under Trump's tariff whiplash. I'm so angry at what's happened, is what a lot of small businesses are saying. 0% of right-wing media is actually presenting the real news of what's happening to businesses in America to their audience. But what they are focused on is a gay Chinese couple fulfilling their wedding dream in a more inclusive Thailand so they can mock DEI and they could attack the LGBTQ community. I use Ground News so I could bring you research like that. I want to know what the right wing is talking about and what they're not talking about because I'm trying to address our media coverage in a systemic way that tries to get as much people accurate information as possible. So if you're interested in the research tools that I use, go to ground.news/MTN or scan the QR code. We're giving our viewers 40% off of Ground News Top Tier Vantage Plan, which will get you unlimited access to everything I've shown you and more. Ground News is subscriber funded, so they don't rely on ads that could also introduce bias. Subscribing supports our channel and their independent team working to keep the media transparent. One more time, it's ground.news/MTN or scan the QR code. We're giving our viewers 40% off. So let me show you what MAGA Mike Johnson was saying during his disastrous appearances this morning. Kristen Welker from Meet the Press said, well, you now claim the CBO is a leftist radical organization and no one should trust what the CBO says when they say there's going to be an additional $4 to $5 trillion added to the deficit. But MAGA Mike Johnson, in 2021, you cited the CBO. So do you only believe the CBO when a Democrat is president? Play this clip.
In 2017, actually, the CBO was pretty right when you adjusted for inflation. But let me read you something that you said back in 2021 about the CBO. This was in relation to a Democratic bill. You said the CBO has confirmed this bill adds nearly $400 billion to the deficit, contrary to the White House's claim that the bill is paid for. So do you only believe the CBO when a Democrat is president, Mr. Speaker?
No, this is very easy to explain. The CBO sometimes gets projections correct, but they're always off every single time when they project economic growth. They always underestimate the growth that will be brought about by tax cuts and reduction in regulations. Look. Then
MAGA Mike Johnson lies and claims that this disastrous murder bill, I call it a murder bill because it's going to kill Americans. You should call it a murder bill. If it's going to add to the debt, he goes, oh, no, it's not going to add to the debt. It's going to be the biggest addition to the debt ever, but play this clip.
Mr. Speaker, if the big, beautiful bill does add to the debt, will President Trump own that?
It's not going to add to the debt. But I can tell you that President Trump is laser focused on two primary things: delivering on his campaign promises and the America First agenda, which is what a record number of 77 million voters, popular votes, requested and demanded and gave us a mandate to do. But he's also concerned, as I am, as Ron Johnson is, as Rand Paul is, as all of us are, about the nation's debt. And he and I talk about this frequently, and he is excited about changing that trajectory. That President Trump, I think, can be the most consequential president of the modern era because he has these opportunities to do these big things. The One Big Beautiful Bill is a big first step to provide relief for the American people, to give everybody more take-home pay, more money in their pocket, and to change the trajectory of the country. And again, it's the first of a number of steps, and President Trump is committed to doing this.
Mr. Speaker, the Joint Committee on Taxation, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, the Tax Foundation, the Penn-Wharton budget model all say this will add trillions of dollars to the deficit. Are you really telling the American people this will not add one penny to the debt and deficit? You can guarantee that?
I am telling you, this is going to reduce the deficit. I mean, you cite some of these figures. Do you know what their economic growth projections are? The Committee for Responsible Budgeting, they're not even, I don't think they're assuming any economic growth. I mean, that's not realistic.
Then you have Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying, oh, the CBO math is not right. It's a leftist organization. Watch what goes down when he says it. Play this clip.
Know that the Speaker of the House estimates this is going to add $4 to $5 trillion over the next 10 year, and there's that debt limit increase.
Well, again, Margaret, that's CBO scoring.
That's the Speaker of the House.
No.
He said it last Sunday on this program.
He said that's the CBO scoring.
He said that sounds right.
Let me tell you what's not included in there, what can't be scored. So we're taking in substantial tariff income right now. And
then you have Maria Bartiromo bringing on dog killer cosplayer Kristi Noem, who just got back in Poland after interfering with the elections there in Poland to try to push the right-wing Putin-aligned candidate. You've been seeing the videos I've been doing there. And then over here, Kristi Noem says, no, we want to raid. We want ICE to raid the restaurants. We want ICE to raid construction sites and raid the courthouses, because that's what President Trump promised, she said. That's mass deportations for you. Here, play this clip.
Because, you've got globalists out there who are saying, they're going to arrest people who have jobs, and that's going to impact the jobs market, and then we're not going to have the people to do the jobs we need. What do you want to say to those people who are critical of the president's agenda when it comes to immigration?
Yeah, the president is doing exactly what he campaigned on and what the American people elected him to do, and that's enforce the law. And so we are going to do mass deportations. We are focusing on dangerous criminals. We are going out there and ensuring the people that repeatedly break our laws are being held accountable.
Then you have Rand Paul, MAGA Republican senator for Kentucky, saying he believes that there's at least 4 Republican senators that will be joined in opposing this bill, this disastrous bill right now. Play this clip.
Well, we hear from other senators who also get complaints from their people in their districts, but they're falling in line. Do you have 3 other Republicans who will stand with you to block this bill?
I think there are 4 of us at this point, and I would be very surprised if the bill at least is not modified in a good direction. Look, I want to vote for it. I'm for the tax cuts. I've voted for the tax cuts before. I want the tax cuts to be permanent. But at the same time, I don't want to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion. So I've told him, if you take the debt ceiling off the bill, in all likelihood, I can vote for what the agreement is on the rest of the bill. And it doesn't have to be perfect to my liking, but I can't be. If I vote for the $5 trillion debt, who's left in Washington that cares about the debt? We will have lost. But the GOP will own the debt once they vote for this.
But
should also note as well that you may have seen this in some of our other coverage. J.P. Morgan Chase's chairman, CEO, Jamie Dimon, believes that there are cracks in the debt market right now, and we're about to see some massive disruptions there. And Jamie Dimon says lots of people are going to panic, but he goes, I'm not panicked because I'm prepared for it, and I'm telling you it's going to happen, but you're not going to believe me, but I'm telling you it's going to happen. It's like what we've been saying here at the MeidasTouch Network. It's going to happen. We're telling you it's going to happen. And then finally, Donald Trump is as I mentioned at the outset, making these deranged posts. Dana White put Donald Trump on a pedestal on a pedestal during the Pat McAfee show. ESPN's perceived liberal bias was null and void as Dana White praised Donald Trump during an appearance on the Pat McAfee show. ESPN's liberal bias. What the hell are you even talking about? It's deranged stuff. Anyway, hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers. Thank you for watching.
New Meidas merch drop. Check out the latest pro-democracy sticker packs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and more. All at store.MeidasTouch.com.